Empowering farmers with intelligence. EFL AG-DATA presents to you. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the EFL AG-DATA Podcast, where we dive into the latest trends and development in the global feed and livestock market. Today, we are discussing on China's expansion. And today with us is our resident market expert, Matthew Clark, to help us unlock all of these. Hello, Matthew. Welcome back.
Hi, Elvin. Great to be here. Thanks.
Okay, today we are discussing the recent expansion in China's sow population, which actually has seen some interesting movements. In July this year, the population of breeding sows in China expanded, which seems significant given the context of high prices. And maybe you can tell us what's driving this expansion.
It's a very good question because what's happening is this expansion is happening differently in different sectors within the industry. If we look at the big producers, the very top producers, they appear to be holding their sow numbers about level. So when we're seeing increase in gilts in that sector, it's just a factor of more piglets maturing to being gilts rather than any planned expansion. We go below that to the sort of top 10 after the big ones. The top 10 producers, it's a mixed picture. Most of them are increasing their sow numbers a little. Some of them are strategically pulling back on their sow numbers. So at the top end of the pig industry, we're not seeing any particular differentiation in terms of numbers increasing.
That's interesting. But the way we look at it, it seems like the growth is not the same across the board. And maybe you can tell us more about the difference in sow inventory changes in the different farm types.
Yes, and that's where we need to look. Let's bear in mind that the price of pork in China is good, and this is going to be driving the expansion, and the expansion in the pork industry comes from more sows producing, right? So the leading producers are stable. We look at the ones down at the sort of lower end. What they're doing is they're holding back some of their fattening stock and converting those into breeding stock. So it's not exactly a planned expansion of the genetic pool in the country. It's a remedial measure, taking advantage of the good pricing, hold some of these better looking gilts back, put them into productivity. So that's where some of those numbers are coming from, we think. It's not that the whole breeding structure from sort of nucleus downwards is gaining momentum. It's just a reaction on the medium to small farmers, and they're very smart on catching prices. That's what's going on.
That actually makes sense. But what about the small and medium-sized pig farmers? Because according to the data, in July this year, the demand for premix feed for breeding sows surged more than 10%, which would indicate that these farms had started replenishing breeding sows on a confident note. And given that pig prices has been staying strong, maybe you can tell us more about these small and medium-sized pig farmers.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it's very much a factor of retention. Remember how the whole breeding structure works. You've got the nucleus multiplies down through generations, and then they deliver the breeding sows. It's a slow-moving ship. But these small farmers, they react quickly, as I mentioned, and they look at the prices and say, I need more piglets, therefore I'm going to hold back. I'm not going to kill some of the sows. I'll hold them back. And as soon as they do that, they go on to the sow premix, away from the fattening premix. So we can see the numbers will reflect an improvement in the sow premix consumption, but it's not necessarily that the breeders are supplying more sows. It's the small farmers are retaining. But the net effect is we have more breeding animals in the cycle into the producing into the fattening herd. So it is an increase. It's one of those quick farmer reactions we're looking at.
Yeah. Well, thinking about that, I think that's a smart move from these pig farmers. But with this expansion, do you think we could see an oversupply soon?
Oh, it's very possible, and that's always the risk of the pig cycle, isn't it? Given the way they respond, they're converting their sows now, and we'll be looking for more piglets coming in being born in maybe 4 months' time, right? And then those go through the fattening cycle about 5, 6 months. So this is the time when today's decisions are going to be impacting market volume in about 7 months' time. And if we see sow numbers coming up now, unless the demand is very strong, yes, we are going to oversupply that market, and there is a risk of downturn in prices. Yeah.
It sounds like the market is still a bit of a crossroad, as we may say. What do you think then should we be looking at for the coming months?
Well, I think in order to get an accurate picture, we need to keep a very close eye on the number of sow feed, and the industry is doing that now, and that's the right data to look at. The sow numbers and what is their stage in the reproductive cycle. That will give us a prediction of piglet numbers, and piglet numbers will produce the fattening pigs to market. So I'd say right now we're in the early cycle of the replenishment. And we need to track the sow numbers first and take a look at the piglets in maybe January, February. They should be coming through quite strongly. It's good timing for the Chinese New Year. So I don't anticipate a glut before Chinese New Year. After Chinese New Year, we might be looking at a drop in pricing due to oversupply. But it's the breeding herd size is recovering well for different reasons, and that runs the risk always of a pig cycle drop.
It seems like the next few months will be crucial for the pig industry in China, and it will be an interesting period. And we'll have to look at the key developments in the industry, right?
Right. Right. We'll have to track it very closely. It's going to be interesting. It's good to see the industry is recovering and prices are good. Great. But of course, people jump on those prices very quickly. And we're back to where we started.
As always, great insights from you, Matthew. Thank you for sharing your knowledge in the market with us.
Pleasure, Alvin. Good to see you.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in into another episode of the EFL Ag-Data Podcast. We'll continue to update you of the latest trend and market development in the global feed and livestock market. See you next time.